Welcome to Retro Sports Hub Podcast. This is your host, Sean Larkin, where the past is always present. Hey, we're talking retro sports today, and the topic of discussion today is around Earl Campbell. Now, for a lot of you younger folks, is somebody you may not know about, but somebody that I'm going to educate you on today and give you just some history of this guy. When I was a kid, he was coming on the scene out of the University of Texas, but really is a Hall of Fame career in the NFL, and just an amazing running back, and really there aren't a lot of guys out there that run like him or ever have run like him. Just a massive lower body and just incredibly strong. But I thought it'd be great to bring this topic up, and it's actually one of the first topics I wanted to cover in this Retro Sports Hub podcast, because just love the guy. I love watching him play. It's funny, anytime I talk to somebody, this younger generations, I always tell them, I say, you got to look him up on YouTube, and you got to look up his running style and how he just ran people over. And there's some incredible highlights from some games that he had, but definitely look him up on YouTube for some video highlights of him. But really just getting into talking about Earl Campbell, guys from the Texas, Tyler, Texas area is where he grew up. And went to the University of Texas, played there, had an incredible career that topped off with him winning the Heisman Trophy in 1979. Was All-American that year as well. I believe he led the Longhorns to the, back then, the Southwest Conference Championship in 1977. And side note, that's a whole nother podcast topic there, the old Big Eight, Southwest Conference, those eras of NCAA back in my day. But once he finished up at the University of Texas, he was the first overall draft pick of the 1978 of the Houston Oilers. Anybody that knows me knows I'm an Oilers fan. I hated when they went to Tennessee. And there's another topic for a podcast, is that whole fiasco with Bud Adams and the ownership of the Houston Oilers, taking them to out of Texas to Tennessee. But back to Earl Campbell. He was drafted in 1978, first round, just unreal right out of the gate, Rookie of the Year. In that first year in 1978. And in 78, he played 15 out of the 16 games that they had, ran for a total of 1,450 yards, 13 touchdowns, had some receptions. Not a big guy out of the backfield as far as catches in his career, but just amazing. 4.8 yards a carry in that rookie season. And the Oilers really, it was one of those things that he took them to. They really became prominent, in their while they had Earl Campbell as their running back. They had some other pieces, but as he was called the Tyler Rose was one of his nicknames. But he started off strong in that 78 season, and really just had in one of the games he had that year as a rookie, and this is one, if you look up on YouTube, you definitely will see highlights of this. But on Monday Night Football, it is actually nicknamed the Monday Night Miracle, against the Miami Dolphins. He ran for 193 yards and 2 touchdowns. And in one of them, I believe, of those 2 touchdowns, one of them was a game-winning 43-yard touchdown run late in the fourth quarter. That pretty much put Earl Campbell on the map as a superstar. And again, it's something you got to look him up on YouTube. Just crazy, what he would do. I believe one of the highlights is against, and for Rams fans, I think he just annihilates a guy that's trying to tackle him. And it's almost, if you all recall the Bo Jackson running over Brian Bosworth. I believe that was on Monday Night Football too. It was very similar to that, and it's just one of those things that just kind of, it's what he did. I mean, he dragged guys. He would drag 3, 4, 5 guys down the field while they were trying to tackle him. And, Campbell was just, I loved watching him. He was, that was the jersey that I wanted as a kid. It was Earl Campbell, number 34, Houston Oilers jersey. And, just amazing guy. And really is why I love the Houston Oilers. And, there were a lot of, really good players after him. They've had some other good running backs that have come through the Oilers. And unfortunately, or I guess it's just the way it is, his records went with the Tennessee Titans. So they're there, and I wish that Houston had gotten the rights back to the Oilers instead of the Texans. And I'm just really indifferent to both of those franchises at this point. But anyway, back to his career. In '79 he comes back and plays a full season, runs for 1,600, almost 1,700 yards. Had a few receptions as well. But 1980 was when was really a legendary season for him. He rushed for 1,934 yards in 15 games. He missed a game and just fell short of O.J. Simpson's record at that time. But just an amazing year for him, and just consistently just powerful running. I mean, again, I keep referencing YouTube, but you just do yourself a favor, jump on there, watch some of those highlights. I'd love to see your comments on my pod after you watch those highlights, because the dude was just a force of nature, I guess is the best way to put it, and he had, I mentioned the 78 game against the Dolphins, but actually his career, and I believe his career high was a game against the Falcons in that 1980 season when he ran for 209 yards and 3 touchdowns. But man, he had a game in 1980 against the Bengals, and he ran for 200 yards, a couple touchdowns. But back to the Oilers and really being my favorite team. It's one of the reasons why I'd love to see, when the Cleveland Browns, the Steelers, the Bengals, I love when they all lose, because they were in the same division as the Oilers, and I couldnn't stand any of them. Particularly the Bengals sucked, so it really didn't matter. But the Steelers, particularly, just the Oilers could never get over the hump. I despise replay, instant replay. However, back in the playoffs, and I think it may have been the 79 or 80 season. I'm blanking on which season it was, but there was a touchdown that the Oilers got really late in the game that would have won the game for them and taken them on in the playoffs against the Steelers. But it happened to be in Pittsburgh, and they called him out of bounds. And anyway, and it wasn't Earl Campbell; it was one of the receivers. But it was a clean play. If replay had existed, it would have the Oilers would have won that game and changed the dynamics of that franchise, I think, dramatically. But anyway, back to his stats: 80. He almost set the record or broke the record for OJ's record. And then you've got 81. He comes on back and runs for 1,300 plus yards. And then after that, it was kind of downhill from there. In 82, this 82 was a strike short season. I forgot about that. Just only played a few games that year. Came back in 83, ran for 1,300 plus yards. And then 84 is where really just for me it was an awful season, because they ended up trading him over to the New Orleans Saints. And really that was pretty much the end of his career. I mean, 84, he played 5 games with Houston, played 8 games with the Saints. His running averages were awful. His body was breaking down at that point. 85 was his last official season. He did play the whole season, but just ran for 643 yards. It was really, and it's tough to see him these days because, if you follow him, and you can follow him on on social media, and he just has a really hard time getting around. Just because of his beatings that he took. And because, I mean, let's face it, if you're playing the Oilers back then, your preparation was getting ready for Earl Campbell. I mean, it was just, that was the way it was. And the dude was just an amazing running back. And, you know, I miss those days. I love those guys where they would just go out and just kill it. You had him, and then after him, there was, you know, you had the Eric Dickersons of the world, and there were others past that. You know, and we've had some now. I mean, Derrick Henry runs similarly. He's probably the most, he's just a different dude. Derrick Henry's like Earl Campbell with 4 or 5 inches taller. I mean, it's pretty nuts on what Derrick Henry's done. But I love that era of when Campbell was, you know, you ran the ball and you ran it a lot. I mean, he ran, gosh, in 80, he ran at 373 attempts in just 15 games. So, I mean, it was just a nutty time, and really enjoyed that era. But, you know, back to some of just wrapping this up today, you know, overall first pick in the draft. He was the 1979 NFL MVP, Offensive Player of the Year, 78, 79, 80. 5 Pro Bowl selections, All-Pro, first team, 3 times rushing title, 78, 79, and 80. Finished his career with 9,407 yards rushing, 74 rushing touchdowns, and was inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame in 1991. Just an amazing player. Loved him. Actually, I've never been to Canton, but that's one that I would. That's one reason I would love to go to Canton, is to just see what they've got on him, and just take some of that in, and see some of the other greats there as well. But yeah, it's a wrap on this podcast today. I thought I'd just give you guys some history on Earl Campbell. Again, the Tyler Rose, just an amazing career, and again, why I had such a love for the Houston Oilers was because of him. And but anyway, until next time, this is your host of Retro Sports Hub podcast, Sean Larkin, and we'll see you next time. You guys have a great day.